Here at Bob White Insurance Agency. This is Robert White representing Jefferson County political activists, and I have candidate for mayor, Mr. John Lewis. John, welcome.
Thank you.
And before we begin, if you want, make an opening statement. Tell us who you are, why you're running, and what you hope to accomplish.
I'm running because I'm dismayed at the direction the city has been going. The debt, we're not pro-business anymore. I was here at a time when we were booming. I know what we're capable of. I know what we can be. And I want to help guide us to that point. I think we're going in the wrong direction.
Okay. Just real quick, tell us a little bit about your wife and your kids, a little bragging rights on your family.
Married to Pam Holloway. Her dad used to be Bill Holloway, Jefferson County Treasurer for years, head of the Democratic Party. We have 4 children. They were all born and raised here. I'm a retired Illinois State Trooper. Been in this community my whole life.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll get on with the questions here. Everybody got the questions, got them up front. We hear a lot about transparency. It seems communication is lacking when it comes to governing boards. What is your plan and commitment to ensure that any actions you propose is clearly communicated to the citizens of Mount Vernon?
Everything I do will be open to the public. We're going to have meetings at times when people can attend. We're going to have meetings in places that people can attend, not 20 miles away at the Red Lake Resort. I believe that we should let the media know exactly what we're doing at all times, especially if there's controversial issues, such as the 7th Street issue. It was talked about way back in May of 2012, although the majority of the people knew nothing about the 7th Street project until September of 2012, less than 2 weeks before the agreement was signed. Now they've restricted the amount of time you can speak before the council. I think if that rule had been in place at the time, on 7th Street, we didn't know till 2 weeks before. Then you had the American Water deal, where that went on for many, many months behind closed doors. Nobody knew anything about it until right before it happened. People were able to mobilize themselves and get out and stop this. You have an issue now where they passed a deal where you cannot speak in front of the council except for a limited amount of time. I think if that rule had been in place at the time of American Water, that would have been rammed down our throats. Also, they've limited, they don't have to answer questions during the council period. If you don't want to answer questions and keep the citizens informed about whatever concerns them, you shouldn't be sitting there or you shouldn't be running. So I will be open. All that stuff will go away. I have a big problem with FOIA requests. I don't think you ought to put a lot of people to jump through the hoops for information that's the public information. We're the servants of the city. And if they ask for information, if it's public knowledge, I will get it for them. I am not going to make them jump through hoops. The public is not stupid. And they know if it's a good thing or if it's a bad thing. The water meter tax is the last thing. Where was the transparency on that? The public found out what was going to happen, and they raised a stink at the first council meeting. One of the councilmen got up and said, well, we need to have 3 town hall meetings and find out what the public feels and try and get our message out. They had 3 town hall meetings. At all 3 town hall meetings, all the information given was negative towards what they wanted to do. Other plans by knowledgeable people were given as alternatives. They never once would even entertain those ideas. Come second council meeting, we were going to find out if they listened to the people. And the councilman that requested the town hall meetings was the one that made the motion to pass it. And it passed 5-0. So they didn't listen to the people. They just went through the motions. I think that was a done deal. I don't think there was a bit of transparency in anything they did with that meter tax.
Okay. What are your priorities when it comes to infrastructure?
Of course, that encompasses a large range of issues from water and sewer and trash pickup and streets and sidewalks. I think what they're doing, the way they're going about it right now is not good fiscal management or fiscal planning. With the water, we do have an aging water system and sewer system. Looking at their audits, I don't believe the sky's falling. They're wanting to throw money at it without an acoustical study. And so I believe while they're over here digging, because that's where they think the next break is going to come, the breaks start happening in another part of town. And so we're just throwing money at the wall. We've got our roads are falling down, sidewalks are not being built where they've been promised, culverts need to be addressed too close to intersections where cars turn the corner and fall into them. And yet we're building 42nd and Veterans, millions of dollars to build that real nice road out there and make everything connect with each other, and looks nice, but not a lot out there. While in front of Agaves looks like a gravel road, and in front of Steak and Shake looks like Pothole City. Those are the places that potential businesses coming to our city are going to see. That's where the city's getting their revenue. Why? I think their priorities are all messed up. 8-foot wide sidewalk across from Cedarhurst Museum. Oh, that's great. I think it looks great. People on Martini in Summersville have been promised sidewalks for years. Those kids have to walk to the school over there down a narrow road, Martini. So I think their priorities are all messed up. And I think I could do a much better job prioritizing the little money we have on our infrastructure.
Okay, very nice. What are your priorities then when it comes to quality of life?
The only thing that provides a good quality of life, as far as I'm concerned, is jobs. Period. End of story. You don't have jobs, people aren't going to stay. They're not going to have money to do things if you build things for them to do. So it all starts with jobs. Government, in my opinion, is there to protect the citizens and maintain the infrastructure. Not pick and choose the winners and losers in business. We should quit turning businesses away. We should get out of business's way and let business do what business does. And we're going to start growing again. And as we grow and we get more money, revenue money from property taxes and sales taxes and people employed and paying taxes, we'll have more money to supply those things that the city would really like to have for quality of life. But until we get this job issue situated, I think it's a moot point.
Okay. Well, you kind of touched on this, so there's much discussion about the amount of debt the city has accrued in the past 8 years. Whether you agree with what the money has been spent on thus far, what is your plan to ensure that this is paid back, or have you identified any other ways that this debt could be paid back sooner?
I think you could write a book on that subject. The city is already insured the debt is going to be paid back. They have obligated their revenue streams to the bond payments. That's what's got them in this position. They were told in 2012 not to obligate all these funds to bond payments because they were going to put themselves in a box. And in a down economic time, they're not going to have any wiggle room. They're not going to have any money. They went ahead and did it anyway. So the bond payments are going to ensure to be paid. But that's why we're at the point we are now, with families being devastated with layoffs, asked to take a 4.5% pay cut.
You're speaking specifically of city employees.
Of city employees, yes, sir. There are a couple things we can do. Some of the more knowledgeable people have suggested possibly looking at combining the 2009 and 2012 bonds at a lower interest rate. But the biggest problem is the fiscal management, which is you realize a quarter of what we have borrowed, we owe $85.6 million. And that was at the time we started the campaign. That doesn't count in December. The city borrowed another $1.2 million. And in December, they borrowed another $460,000. But let's just go with the $85.6 million in debt today. $20 million of that is going out of our community to the pockets to pay interest of the investors. Every dollar in a rural community should count for something. This is hard-earned taxpayer money, and we have 20 million of those dollars going outside of our community because of this fiscal management. That $20 million is desperately needed right here in this community to do things we desperately need to have done. But we're sending it out of town because for some reason they've gotten away from pay-as-you-go to I want it today instead of I'll have it next month. So since you want it today, 25 cents of every taxpayer dollar is going to line someone else's pocket. This is irresponsible to me.
Okay. All right, touching on finances, the Armory has become a hot topic as the state of Illinois has offered to put $1.5 million into this facility if the city puts an additional $500,000 into it. What is your stance on this facility?
I don't hardly know where to start on that one because I have talked extensively before the council on this subject, and we've looked at all the figures. I've repeatedly said I am not against this project, but to do this project at a time when we're devastating families is poor optics for the city. This may be a good plan, but when people give me fictitious numbers in order to propose something, I immediately am going to step back. Am I getting these fictitious numbers from incompetence, or they don't know, or we're hiding something? I don't know. But we've had 3 business plans. The first 2 were just out in fantasy land. And we blew them apart in one of my speeches before the council and said, this will not work. This will lead to the layoff of at least 5 more employees by our figures. They're not being truthful with you on it. This may be a good thing for our community, but not with the business plan that they have presented today. It is fictitious numbers. We figure, and I've got estimates from 2 contractors, that's a $5 million project. You've already got $600,000 in it. The state's going to put $1.5 million in it if we put $500,000 into it. So the state's going to give us $1.5 million. Now we got $1.1 million. It's still going to take $2.4 million to complete that, and you're still not going to have a parking lot. So that building was not engineered to last. Built by the WPA, they served their time, and there may be something we can do with it. Maybe a private investor can come in and help. Maybe we'll get enough jobs in here where the city can subsidize civic activities for its citizens. But at this point, with the figures we've seen and the figures they've given us and the figures we know, no. It's going to cost at least 5 more layoffs.
Okay. We hear a lot about growth, and you've kind of talked about this in some of your other statements, both in jobs and population. What is your plan for each in an expansion to anything you've said previously and your priority to getting there?
Well, like I said, I've been here in the good times. I was here when we were known as the King City. Marion, Effingham always looked up to us. Now we've watched Marion's population grow quite a bit. Effingham's population grow, and we've lost 2,000 to 3,000 people. We now look to Marion. We've lost our way. And it's because we're not pro-business enough. I don't believe this administration or the council members are anti-business. I just don't believe they understand business. And I've said before, I will get out of their way. We'll have rules and regulations. You can't just let them have free reign. But you can see what's happening in Marion. And so now we're sitting here watching Marion and Effingham grow. And they're getting the tax revenues. And I will take any and all jobs. I understand people don't want restaurants or this or that because they're low-paying jobs. I will take all of them. The industrial, the mechanical, the restaurant jobs, I don't care. Bring it to our city, build your $1 million building, pay those property taxes to the school, generate that sales tax for our citizens, and we can have a lot of nice things. The citizens will vote with their pocketbook if that business is going to stay. But if the citizens vote with their pocketbook that business is not going to stay, you still got an owner of that $2 million building or $1 million building that's going to get somebody else in it. So you still got your property taxes and you've still got your sales tax. So I think if we get out of business's way, let business do what business does, we'll again grow just like Marion and Effingham have been.
Okay. The city makes financial commitments to various entities. What are your commitments to the Jefferson County Development Corporation, Downtown Development, and the Convention and Tourism Department? Do you prefer a public-private structure, or do you prefer a strictly governmental structure for these types of?
I'm open to both. My dad was the first one of the first ones in the nation that started a public-private partnership with a wastewater treatment plant and gave talks all over the U.S. about it. So there are very good public-private partnerships, and there are some things that don't work very well in that sector and need to stay in the political sector. So I'm open to any public-private partnerships that are in the best interest of the citizens, period. That is the bottom line. That's the only person I have to answer to, and I have to do what's best for them, whatever way we can get that done. The entities you've mentioned are great organizations and have great people within those organizations. And all I would say is they will have my support as long as they bring a return for the investment the citizen is making with his hard-earned dollars through taxes. I will be 100% behind him.
Okay. Let's see, we hear a lot about the unfunded pension liabilities, and especially in the state of Illinois. With that in mind, we know that our own fire and police pensions are currently underfunded. What is your plan to address this if duly elected?
As you know, as a former county board chairman, our hands are tied through previous union negotiations and legislation that has been legislated in Springfield. They've tied our hands. The only thing I can do is work with the legislators and organizations like the Municipal League to try and ease the burden on the taxpayer, the citizen, who's having to foot this bill. Now, I do, from dealing with many of the unions at the state level, have some experience in negotiations. And I have quite a few ideas, but those ideas would probably best be discussed during a negotiation, where both sides can discuss the idea and see if it's good for both. It can't be good for just one or the other. If it is good for both, we might be able to get some changes implemented. And I think we're smart enough to come up with some ideas, but it's got to be attacked. We've got a, $29 million pension unfunded liability right now in the city of Mount Vernon. That's just going to get bigger.
I've been hearing a lot about the closure of 7th Street, which you've addressed a little bit in your transparency discussion, the closure of 7th Street for the rail transfer operation. Where do you stand on this and why?
Well, this goes right back to the transparency issue. If handled correctly by the city, I don't think we'd be having this issue. Too many unanswered questions. We had a group of people with 1,000 signatures that went to the city for answers, or trying to get it open, and they got stonewalled. I was a member of a group. We got all the businesses together, went before the city, got stonewalled. The only thing the city came back and told us was, well, we have an agreement, and we as a city cannot back out of an agreement, or nobody else will enter into an agreement with us. Well, tell us what the deal is. Tell us why this is so good. Nobody's even tried. It's just been, there's too many unanswered questions. We've heard, the rumors fly when you don't answer the questions. We've heard that Evansville Western's been trying to buy the property east of the jail. We've heard that Milano's wants the football field and the baseball field. Park Plaza, I know two or three companies that have tried to move in there in the last 3 years. The city said no. Now all of a sudden the city's got complete ownership of it, and we're talking about spending $500,000 to tear it down. People ask me why. I say, I don't know why. I just hear rumors just like everybody else. The main rumor is it's going to be part of the intermodal or transloading facility at Milano's. So are we giving it to Milano's? I don't know. The whole point here is, as I've said in my campaign stuff, we will revisit this. It will be revisited. People are not stupid. If this is a great thing for the community, I'll be behind it 100%. And if it's not, and the citizens tell us they don't want it, I'm not an elitist going to sit up here and say, this is what's good for you, eat your vegetables. We will stop it. One way or the other, contract or not, there are a lot of ways to skin a cat. But this will be revisited.
Okay. Please tell us what you see as the strengths and opportunities that this city currently has, and what you will do to build on these.
I've been here during the good times. The strengths are its people and the location. We couldn't ask for a better location than the railway. So get out of business's way, let business do what business does. Quit turning them away. We'll be growing faster than Marion. We got a better location than they do.
Okay. Let's talk about the weaknesses and threats facing Mount Vernon, and what will you do to address these?
That's what's brought me to this campaign, is the poor fiscal management and the business attitude, which is not a pro-business attitude. Those two things will change. Better fiscal management and being pro-business. And I think the city will be back on the road to being like Marion and Effingham, and where we should be, and get our mantle back of the King City like we used to have and be proud of.
Okay. All right, so John, this is specifically for you. Since you have never served on city council nor as mayor, what will you do differently to lead the city council if duly elected?
Okay, the issue that I have not been on the council nor a mayor, to me, is not an issue. We've had many good and great mayors that have never served before being elected to that position. I believe that position takes leadership and vision, and it is evident. I've walked all the neighborhoods in all various parts of the city, and it is evident that the city is not happy with the direction that we're currently headed. And I provide a new vision and a new direction. I believe I have those leadership skills to do that. I'm confident enough we can get it done. We have got a huge range of good people running for the council. That's going to be a hard decision, but they're all good people. And they're good people because they're running because they're concerned for our community and they want to see what's best for it. So I think people want to change right now.
Okay. Well, John, I appreciate you being here. I've asked you a lot of questions. So in closing, is there anything that we didn't discuss here that you would like to finish up by saying to the people that will be watching this video?
No, you've done a great job. You've asked a lot of questions. The only thing I would end with is, this is where I grew up. This is where I got married. This is where I went to school. This is where all my kids went to school. This is where I've lived my whole life and tried to follow in the traditions of my family with community service. I believe we can again become the King City. So I sincerely hope that people will consider me for their mayor. And I humbly ask them for their support and their vote, and I will listen to what they have to say. And I appreciate you doing this.